Welcome. This is a continuation of the leg love sequence. We'll move towards seated positions, so it might be helpful to have a blanket or pillows or towels, something that you can prop yourself up with if needed. So please turn to the front of your mat. Take your feet as wide as your hips, if not a little bit wider. Bend your knees deeply. Let your fingertips come to the ground. That's how low you want to bend your knees. Then lift and spread your toes evenly so you feel yourself anchored in the four corners of your feet. Move your hips back and widen from the inner thighs to the outer hips. Then lengthen the sides of your waist forward. And then lift your arms to the height of your ears. Lift from your inner armpits and your triceps so you have more room from your ears to your shoulders. And then breathe. Keep your inner thighs releasing down and moving back and apart towards your outer hips. Push down through your legs and inhale, rise, come all the way up to standing. Release your arms and pause. We'll do this 2 more times. Bend your knees, let your fingertips come to the ground. Take the tops of your inner thighs down and widen them towards your outer hips, and then lift your arms to the height of your ears. Extend the sides of your waist forward. And as the sides of your waist go forward, continue to widen your outer hips and move them back and apart. And then enjoy your breath. Push down through your legs, inhale, rise, and then release your arms. Pause. Bend your knees. Take your inner thighs down, widen your outer hips apart from each other. And then lift your arms to the height of your ears. So the intention is so the inner thighs release down, move them in, but then widen them back so the outer hips widen, and you feel the inner thighs move and widen to the outer hips. Then lengthen and extend the sides of your waist forward and enjoy and observe your breath. Then push down through your legs and inhale, rise, come all the way up. Relax your arms. Now, please take a blanket or a towel, anything that you have to hold yourself a little bit higher, and have a seat on that. Take a wide stance or a seat with your legs, and you don't necessarily need the blanket. So you'll want the blanket if when you sit down and you take the wide seat, if the middle of your back curves back, then you'll want the blanket so that you can take the lower back in and the middle of the back moves up in length. So I don't necessarily need a blanket, but you'll know you'll need one if you feel the middle of your back curve in this way. So I'll do this and then do the poses demonstrating with the blanket. Another thing that's helpful actually is to turn the blanket so it's in more of a diamond shape so that when you take your legs on it, the crease of the blanket actually helps the thighs turn in. So now with this stance, this wide stance, although we're not standing, so it's a wide seat, take your hands and manually roll your thighs in. And then bring your hands beside your hips. Flex your toes towards your face. And with your hands beside your hips, push down. Push down so that you can feel yourself roll to the front of your sit bones and you can feel your lower back move towards the front of your body. Try to keep this as you lift your knees and move your inner thighs down towards the ground. Now, if you're on quite a bit of height, you want to be careful that you don't just push your knees down so you don't hyperextend your knees. So keep your kneecaps lifting and then release or move the tops of your inner thighs down. So the inner thighs move and widen to the outer hips, just like we did in the previous pose. Now you might stay upright. This might be the position that you can do to maintain the length of the spine, or you can start to hinge forward. And again, you're only hinging if you're not being pulled to the back of your body. But if you're able to maintain the length, then hinge forward. Keep your knees lifting, the tops of your inner thighs moving down, and then lengthen and extend out through your heels. You might hinge forward a little further. Go to a place that you can maintain the length of your spine. And while you feel an active presence or an energy through the backs of your legs, a balance between a tone and engagement and an active release and extension. With an inhale, lift yourself upright, hold underneath your knees, bend your knees and draw your legs in. Then, so for this one, I'm going to come off the height, but you can keep the height if you're low, if you move back, as I described earlier. So extend your left leg, bend your right knee, and turn your right leg so your foot comes to the inside of your foot. Now flex your toes back, and then try to flex your toes towards your knees, but try to come to the top of your foot. Then take your hands and manually roll your left thigh in. Take your hands beside your hips, lift the sides of your waist. And so you do this whether you're on a blanket or on the mat. Move your lower back in towards your spine, and then start to turn towards your left leg. Keeping the length, begin to hinge forward. So for this one, I'm keeping my hands to either side of my left leg, but I'm using them to walk forward and maintain a length. The moment that I feel I'm pushing away from the hands and I move back, it's less service of the pose. So lift and lengthen, and then let the hips hinge you forward. And then soften. Once you've gone as far as you can, then soften. Let the skin soften. Let the muscles actively expand and extend. And observe your breath. Use your hands to walk yourself back upright. Turn. Release your right leg. Extend your right leg to the side. Bend your left knee. So you first bend the knee to close the knee. Then you draw your foot towards your inner right thigh. Flex your toes back towards your knee, and then come to the top of your foot. Take your hands and manually roll your right thigh in. Then lift the sides of your waist so you feel your lower back moving in towards your spine. And then turn towards your right leg and start to hinge forward. Use the length as you inhale to then extend your torso towards think of moving your heart towards your big toe. Then once you've gone to the fullest extension, soften and observe your breath. And then inhale and rise. Bend your right knee. Now take your feet together. And again, stay on height. I'm actually going to come back to the height for this one so that my knees can be a little bit higher than my hips. And if you're on height, then please stay there. Then take your feet together. Take your hands beside you and push down to lift your hips up. Then as you push your feet together, roll to the inner insides of your thighs. Roll the thighs in. Sit on the front of your sit bones. And then hold your ankles. Hold your ankles and pull the lower back in and lift the sides of your waist up. Then as you push your feet together from your hips, try to lengthen your thighs so the thighs move laterally or away from the midline. The feet push to the midline, the thighs move from the hips away from the midline. And as you keep all of that, you can lengthen and fold over your legs. You can rest your elbows on your legs, but careful not just to push the knee down. Let the elbows rest. They can put a little bit of attention, I'll say, almost pressure, but not quite pressure. Just a little bit of attention to help the legs release down. Continue to push your feet together and to lengthen from your hips out towards your thighs. Relax your shoulders, soften your skin, and enjoy your breath. And then as you inhale, rise. Take your hands to your knees, draw your legs together. Just sit for a moment with your legs crossed at your shins. Rest your hands at your thighs. Lift the sides of your waist, lengthen your tailbone. Close your eyes and observe your breath. Feel weightiness from your outer hips down towards your legs. Energy with all the leg love with the legs. And then send gratitude to the legs, to your feet. Then bring your hands to your heart. Namaste.